I'm Jovanna and I want to become a nurse. I am interviewing Tara, that is a nurse. So, what is your current job title, position, and how long have you been in this role?
My current job title, I'm a registered nurse specialist with the Nurse Family Partnership Program at the Florida Department of Health in Orange County, and I have been there for about a year and a half in this job.
Okay. What are some of your highlights when you were actually in the hospital working as a nurse?
So I've been a nurse for about 13 years now, and the majority of the beginning of my career I spent in the hospital, working either on like a med-surg floor. I did a little bit of oncology, and I also did a lot of like post-op surgical experience. And I was actually a travel nurse for about 5 years, I think, and so I traveled around to different places in the country working in the hospital on different floors.
And how was that experience when you had to travel?
Traveling was one of the best nursing jobs I think I ever had, because it was all short-term assignments. So it was usually 3 to 6 months I would work in one place, but it allowed me to have a really broad experience of nursing instead of just working in like one area of nursing for 5 years. I worked in oncology, I worked on an organ transplant unit, I worked on surgical floors, I did like outpatient surgery, so I did it allowed me to experience a broader sense of the different kinds of nursing that are out there.
Okay. How did you land in this position?
The current position I have been working at the health department for 4 years now. I actually got my master's in public health nursing, and when I graduated I got a job at the health department working for the director of nursing, doing nursing education and quality improvements and policies and more administrative type of role. And then this program that I'm in now is actually a grant funded program, so it's only a 3-year grant that we have at the moment, and it was just a really good opportunity to kind of practice public health nursing with my clients, which is what I want to do. I kind of got sick of working in an office. I wanted to be out in the community working with clients again. So when this opportunity came, I took it.
And what do you really enjoy about your job?
What I really enjoy about this job, this is my favorite job I've ever had, and I've had a lot of jobs in the past 13 years. But what I really enjoy about this job is just getting to work with moms and babies and going out into their settings, into their homes, to kind of see, you know, what they're really dealing with in life, because it's kind of easy when you work in a hospital to say that, okay, this is what we need to do, or this is what you need to do when you get home, but you don't know what barriers clients have or what their home situation is like. So I just really like to work with moms and babies and like the connection that we share, because I do get to see them for about 2.5 years through this program.
What do you least like about your job?
What I least like about this job?
Well, at least, I would say, in nursing wise.
Nursing wise?
Yeah.
I think in this job that I have now, it's a nursing job. The program Nurse Family Partnership only employs nurses, but I don't do a whole lot of clinical nursing anymore like you do in the hospital, so I do sometimes miss like starting IVs or giving meds, or you know, that kind of like high stress you know, part of the job. But I really like the relationships with my clients. So there's pros and cons. The least favorite part of this job is the pay for working for the health department.
What was your college major? What was your major in college?
My major in college was nursing, so I got my bachelor's degree in nursing, and then like about 5 years or 8 years later, I did go back and get my master's degree in public health nursing, so it's a nursing master's.
Do you work in a team or in an independent environment?
Right now, my job is pretty independent because most of the time I'm out in the community doing visits with my clients on my own. And our program that we have is pretty small because it is a grant program. So it's just myself and one coworker and our supervisor. So I like that I can work independently. You know, I'm kind of in charge of my own day, and I get to schedule my visits, you know, as I see fit, and, you know, have a lot of independence in what I do during my day. But it can be hard because you don't have someone to ask questions to, or someone that's right there that can, especially if you're in someone's home, like, and sometimes you just want someone else to look at, like, can you look at this and see if this is what you see? So you don't really have that, but luckily my coworker is amazing, and we are constantly on the phone to each other, asking questions and talking and, you know, giving updates. So
Okay. How does this style impact your work? Like
the independent style, I mean?
Yes.
It sometimes can make it a little bit challenging because, like I said, you are very independent. You don't have someone to like fall back on, and the same thing, like if I'm sick or something comes up, I have to cancel my visits and reschedule, and I don't have someone that can just come and see my, you know, my mom's for me. But I like it. I feel like I work pretty well as an independent person, so I don't always need to have somebody. And I think that comes along with experience. I don't think I could have done this as like a new nurse because I would be like, you know.
So you wouldn't recommend a new nurse to jump in?
No, I think that I'm a big believer in that you need to get like your 1 to 2 years of kind of acute care, like hospital based, like your basic med-surg nursing, because that first year or two of nursing, especially when you're working in the hospital, you learn so many things, because even in nursing school you can only learn so much in your, you know, 2 or 3 years of school. Once you get into the real world, it is important to have someone else there that can help you and mentor you and that kind of thing, especially the first year or so.
Please describe your career pathway to this current job.
My current job? Well, like I said, I've been a nurse for 13 years. It makes me feel like old, like a long time. But I've been a nurse for 13 years. When I first graduated, I did work in the hospital for about 1.5 years, and then I was a travel nurse for, I'd say maybe like 4 or 5 years. I traveled around. So I got a lot of hospital acute care experience, and then I actually took a job with hospice after I stopped working in the hospital for a while. And with hospice, I started to do home visiting and, you know, admitting people to the hospice program and that kind of thing. And then I also did a little bit of case management for hospice in the hospital setting while I was getting my master's degree. And then once I graduated, I knew I wanted to work more in the public health setting, in the community and that kind of thing. So that's what led me to the health department.
I would say, what are some of the benefits you get working in the hospital or working with mommies and babies? Because I want to work with mommies and babies, but I really don't like the hospital feel. Because I mean, I experienced working in the hospital field, but I really want to be with mothers and babies.
Like
I want to be in labor and delivery, but then I do want to have experience on all the other type of floors. And also, I like the home setting.
Yeah.
Like, huge made me just want to be in the home settings only. So.
I think that working with moms and babies, because I never worked with moms and babies in the hospital. I mean, I've been a nurse for 13 years, but all of my hospital experience is with adults, like, not moms or babies. So before this job, I really didn't have any experience with pregnant moms or babies. And it's kind of funny because thinking about my career path to this current job, which I love, I never used to, like, back when I first became a nurse, I was never one that was like, I want to work with mom and babies, or I want to work in labor and delivery. I was like, I don't really want to work with moms, it's not my thing. And then I think after I had my son, it was just really, I realized how important it was for moms and babies to have support, especially at home, and for babies to be able to have, everything that they need, that extra support and, mentoring and that kind of thing. So that's what led me to this job.
Okay. What was the pay when you started working as a nurse?
Oh, when I started working as a nurse, I think it was somewhere around like $20-ish an hour. So it's not that much different than it is now, I don't think. But it all depends on where you work. When I first became a nurse, I lived in Massachusetts. So I think it was between like $20 and $23 an hour, but then it depends if you work in the hospital. If you work like nights or 3 to 11, you get paid a little more. You might get paid more if you work on the weekends.
Have you ever worked overnight?
I did, yeah. A lot of my hospital work was either 7A to 7P or 7P to 7A, and sometimes it actually like flip-flopped. So I had one job where I would work 1 month of days and then 1 month of nights, 1 month of days, 1 month of nights. So working night shift was not my favorite thing to do in the world, but it was only a month long. It wasn't forever, so I felt like I could get through it.
Yes, the overnight shift is what I'm pretty scared of, but
yeah.
I hope to get through it. Going through school as a nurse, was that very challenging? How did you overcome that?
Nursing school was definitely it was definitely challenging, and it was kind of hard. I feel like going to nursing school was not the same as like just going to college, like having your college experience, because it's a lot of work. And usually, like in my program, we went to classes 2 days a week and we went to clinicals 2 days a week. But then we usually had Fridays off. So it was definitely challenging, and it was a lot of work, but it was worth it in the end to become a nurse, I think.
What was some of like your keys to success of getting through like nursing school?
Having like a partner or like a friend or someone that you can study with or talk to about nursing school. Sorry, it's like a bear.
No, it's like keep bothering you.
Definitely having someone that I went to nursing school with. My cousin and I went through the same nursing program together. So having someone to help you like study with and like talk things out and that kind of thing was really helpful. So that's like a big key. And just making sure that you have time, like you take time out of your week or your day to make sure you have time to do your work and to study and that kind of thing.
What was some of your study methods?
I'm a doer. That's how I learn best, is by like doing things. So I used to take my notes, like my class notes, and rewrite them on yellow legal pads. So, you know, like yellow legal pads of paper, I had hundreds of them because I would literally just like take my notes and rewrite them, and just the habit of rewriting them and reading them over was what helped me to learn. I'm not a learner where I can just sit and listen and I won't retain anything. I know that I won't, so seeing and doing are my learning style.
What question did I have for you? What advice would you give me that want to become a future nurse?
I would tell you to just kind of stick with it, because it can be very challenging. So don't give up, stick with it. I think it's helpful to work in the hospital or work in some capacity of the medical field while you're going through nursing school. Just because, if you can work at the same time, just because you get into that mindset at the same time. I worked as a CNA while I was in nursing school for like 2 or 3 years, and it was really helpful because when I graduated from nursing school, I was already at least comfortable with patients. Like, I was comfortable going in a room and talking to patients and taking care of them and that kind of thing. So it was just the actual nursing part that was like new to me after I graduated.
So do you recommend to go to work a while in nursing school, or do you feel like if you don't have to work, would you just take the route and just go to school?
I think it depends on how intensive your program is, because I know a lot of programs now are like kind of concentrated and you're done in like a couple years, so they're really intensive. I don't think that you can work a full-time job necessarily and go to school, nursing school, because it's just a lot of work, school itself. So if you can get away with not working, that's probably beneficial while you're going to nursing school. Or if you could even work like a PRN person or like a per diem and work 1 day a week, or something like that to get a little more experience, that can be helpful too.
When you just come on, like, start working as a nurse, are there flexible shifts, or is there such thing as part-time nurse?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on where you work. Usually in the hospitals, you'll probably get a little bit more flexibility regarding schedules. Now, most hospitals are like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Some places still have like the 3 to 11, like the 3 8-hour shifts. A lot of places in the hospitals, they'll want you to work every other weekend, every other holiday kind of thing, so that can be hard. But depending on what unit you work on, I've worked on units before where there's nurses that specifically want to work on the weekends because they have kids at home during the week. So I hardly had to work any weekends on those jobs. So it just really depends on where you work. But there are a lot of flexible jobs. Like, for a long time, I worked 32 hours. So, well, either 32 hours or 36 hours, depending on the shift. So if it was an 8-hour shift, it was 4 days a week. If it was a 12-hour shift, usually only work 3 days a week. So the 12-hour shift is long, but you get 4 days off. So that's always really nice.
Kind of beneficial. What else do I have to ask you? Hold on, let me look at my list of. This pretty much concludes our interview. I have no more questions. That's all you want to say to me that I should know becoming a nurse?
Yeah, I think that you will be a wonderful nurse, and it's going to take a lot of hard work to get through school, but just know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and you can do it.
Okay. Thank you, Nurse Tara, for interviewing for my career interview assignment.